Hello everyone, my name is Tim Watroba. I'm the head golf professional at the Thorny Lee Golf Club. I'd like to welcome you to my Thorny Lee Golf Shop here in my first edition of the Thorny Lee Spotlight Series. And today I'd like to cover a topic I think it's not talked about enough in golf, and a lot of people misunderstand the bounce on a wedge, and what role that plays in your short game and in your overall game. It's a very important part, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I have here a 50-degree Titleist Vokey wedge. These are the SM8 version. This is new this year. But first of all, I want to just clarify the different parts of the wedge. So we'll start with the leading edge. So this angle right here at the bottom of the club, all right, this is that sharp angle there. That's called the leading edge. Okay, so we have the face, we have the leading edge here. Okay, this angle here on the back side of the flange, that's what we call the bounce. Okay, there's varying degrees of bounce, but bounce is crucial because we should think of bounce as forgiveness. So the more bounce, the higher the number of bounce, degrees of bounce on a wedge, the more forgiving that wedge is going to be. So if everyone wants to go and grab their clubs, grab their wedges, and look for the little number on the wedges. So on the Vokey wedges, they're typically here on the toe. Right here, mine has 12 degrees of bounce. This is a 50-degree wedge. This is what you would consider a gap wedge. But that's where you find it. Sometimes you also find it maybe on the hosel of the club here as well, or sometimes they're on the backside. So the higher number, so the 50 is the loft on the club, and the 12 is the bounce, and the F, if you can see the F, that's just a type of grind on there for the wedge. So bounce is defined as this angle here. Okay, so when the club is like this, straight up and down, perpendicular, this angle here is our loft. Okay, this angle here is our bounce. Okay, now the bounce does exactly what it's named for. It bounces off of the turf. So this part here, the bounce, actually interacts with the turf, and is why it's crucial in a golf shot to be activating the bounce. Okay, now if we have our hands really forward, okay, and we're chipping, okay, we're not activating that bounce. Okay, we're actually activating the leading edge, which a lot of times, if you've ever hit a fat shot, okay, it's because you're entering the turf here with this sharp leading edge. Okay, and if you don't hit that exactly perfect, if you're not a really skilled wedge player, and you have your hands forward, you could hit, if you hit a little bit behind the ball, you're going to hit these fat shots. Okay, so if anyone's hit a fat shot, most likely that's what it's come because you're using the leading edge and you're not using the bounce. Okay, the bounce angle here. Okay, so you want to have your hands in more of a neutral position, or even back a little bit more, and then that would activate the bounce for you. Okay, so very important. Bounce plays a crucial role. Now, how do you know if you have the proper degrees of bounce in your wedge? And that's where I come into play. You can come see me, and I can evaluate your wedges. But most likely, most players typically don't have enough bounce. So why would somebody play a low bounce wedge? Well, if you play where the conditions are really dry and have tight lies, and you really need to open up the club face, you'd want a really low bounce, especially if you're a highly skilled player. You don't take a lot of divots. If you're a picker, you'd want a low bounce wedge. Everybody else, average golfers, high handicap golfers, should have more to a mid-high bounce on their wedges, especially that wedge that you're going to use out of the sand, out of the bunker. You want to have a high bounce wedge because your club is going to bounce off that sand. It's not going to dig into the sand. It's going to bounce off of that sand and allow that club to come through, hit the ball, and get that ball out of the sand instead of digging like a shovel here. Okay, so bounce is our friend. Bounce helps us hit solid struck shots with our wedges. So it's very important. It's an underlooked part of the game. Most people, when they buy a wedge, they just go to the store and they're, hey, I want a 56-degree wedge because that's what my friends have, or that's what someone told me I need. But that's not necessarily true. I have plenty of demos here once the season gets started. The best way to find out what bounce is good for you is to have a PGA professional look at your swing, evaluate what kind of bounces you have on your wedges, and what you're looking to do with your wedges out there. Are you looking to get out of the bunker, or are you looking to hit and create shots around the greens and in areas like that? So I hope that explains, answered some questions here about bounce and your wedges. So go home, look on your wedges, look what number that is, bounce on there. Email me if you have any questions. Always happy to help you with your games here. But we can't be out there on the golf course right now, but at least now now's the time to think about your game and evaluate your game and what your goals are for the season. And now's the time to do that, when we have time to reflect on there, and we're not worried about what we shot yesterday on the golf course or what our score was. So a great time to evaluate that. So tomorrow's Easter. I hope everybody has a great Easter home, staying safe, and look forward to seeing everybody here at the golf course soon. Next Saturday, we're going to do this again. We're going to do an update on the World Golf Handicap. So we're going to explain some of the new changes and how that's going to impact your handicap this year, playing in tournaments, and what those changes mean here for you. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing everybody soon. Thank you.